Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.53 installed. Alright, well, let's get back at this. Oh, we on faster than that. Here we go. The U.S. The United States of America. Okay. Okay, we'll do that. Just a little bit of fuel. For some money. Because we want good relations with them. Yeah, we'll do that one as well. No. I know at some point we're going to be researching these very soon, which will help some of that, but I'm just still rather unsure about my lines of communication, as they would say, across the sea. Because I believe in the last game that I played as Germany for you all, I sunk all of Britain's, or most of Britain's convoys to the point, excuse me, to the point that, to the point that they were no longer able to supply garrisons that we were seeing over here, that we were just taking, like Singapore we took without any fight, just because they were completely disorganized for lack of supply. Now, obviously I'm smarter than the AI, so I might be able to better use some of my light forces, including those light cruisers and such, to sink the submarines more effectively. So maybe I'm overthinking it, but I don't know that I am yet. Okay, well, now we're almost there, so I think we can start doing 38 year attacks. How deeply are we in the red? Oh, a couple of things. I've been advised to try to have some of my fleets operating here to sink German submarines as they head out, and that I need air superiority over there, over this, and advised to have air superiority, or warned that I should, I guess, maybe, to keep my fleets from being bombed, presumably to destruction. I very well may do that, but I'm thinking if I can put the fleets up here, which if you've watched some of the movies, like Sink the Bismarck and such, put the fleets and anti-shipping aircraft up here, will keep them from coming out here, as well as off here. Obviously, once Germany has France, I don't know where it will be placing, whether it'll be starting subs here and trying to run them out or not, but since we'll also see what we can do here as well. Okay, they've decided the trains run on time. Good. People don't like to be late with the train. No. And what decisions do we have? Okay, yes, the first. Okay. Now this time, let's go with national focus. I want to build the Royal Navy up because we still have a lot of those ships that are in the production line, as well as I want to build more, including a lot of light forces. So we're going to go with that. It is 2 shipyards, Aberdeen and Calcutta. Well, Calcutta is interesting. Don't like that so much. I don't know how historical location. Is it Calcutta over here? Yeah. That to me, just a vulnerability to Japan. Obviously, I hope I'm smart enough to keep Germany out of here. But, aircraft factory, shipyard. So, where Aberdeen I do sort of like, because that's way up here, probably outside of most bombing ranges for Germany. I would have liked Glasgow. And because if we lose Britain, it's one thing that they invade and we have a battle here, but if we lose Britain, the game's over from my perspective. Okay, let's see now. Let's continue with political spying. We're trying to continue to deal with these, and economic boost. I saved that this time because I wanted to continue with the, I'm going to do long-term boost. Which will give me the option of farm mechanization, railroad tycoon, or highways. Now, just take a quick look, and I'm partially just refreshing myself, partially just examining for everyone's benefit the various benefits. Railroad tycoon. That's good. 2% production efficiency, 10% supply throughput, agricultural industry, 15% manpower, which is good. We have lots of manpower currently and we're not building it up. And national highways is up here. Okay, production efficiency only of 1% and supply throughput of 5%. Well, I think Railroad Tycoon outdoes that. And we're still building, obviously, manpower up, but we'll save that for later, I think. So we'll do Railroad Tycoon. We may skip the highways as just being good, but maybe the short term. Now we're almost done with the coal mines, which will put us almost 10 ICs back. Getting some of those ships. Effectively, obviously, we've put several ships out of the aircraft out of production because of that. No, we're running really low on that. On steel, metal, whatever. And there we go, coals to Newcastle. This is the thing that you don't want to do. And that's where the coals come from. National recruiting policy. Again, we're going to go with the balanced approach. I think that is also particularly apt, though maybe the elite approach would have been better because we're not looking at a large army. Yeah, I want to get these fighters in production as soon as possible. I'm getting more worried about that. What's my money income? Okay, let's see if we can buy some steel from America. So we're 14 down. Yeah, we'll be able to afford this. We'll buy slightly more than we need. Good. Recon unit communications. Good, they'll be able to tell us what the enemy are doing better. And we'll just stop that. No, thank you. Okay. Anschluss of Austria, which basically just means unification, I guess. Basically, from what I've read. Yes, demands of Anschluss. Or reunification. Okay, well, we knew this was coming. January 1938 is slightly before the historical date, but good enough. Now Czechoslovakia is doomed, no matter what we do. As I pointed out in my other series, just the length of the border increase, and yeah, I know it's only increased this much, but still, how many more divisions there? I don't even know if it really deserves that, and that, these border defenses here. But definitely they didn't have all of these, and they could have just, you know, driven up through there nearly unopposed. And with Hungary threatening, you know, it just makes it untenable as a country. Okay, oh wow, this is going fast. Something's really pushing this. Now this is the black ice version of the Munich Agreement going on here. In my last series you saw the Third Reich Events version. Third Reich Events is a bit longer, more events. I thought about putting it in. It does give Britain for the AI a very, very small chance of doing this, you know, opposing them. But mostly it won't, and obviously the player has full choice. Now, as we look at this, you can see we don't have huge amounts of intel, but that's a rather largely built up army there, bigger than I ever put on the border. He's right there with France. Sort of kind of wonder what their other borders look like. We'll do some reconnaissance on that. But if France thinks they're ready, that's fine, but we're not ready to face that. So it will be, I know the quote or the thing is peace in our time, but it was peace for our time is actually what they said, not in our time, but for our time. So we will go with this. Oh, now we can intervene in the Spanish Civil War. Maybe that's because our popularity has grown enough that we would be able to withstand, I don't know, criticism. So we want to do that. Okay, early 36, after the electoral victory of the socialists, popular demand for social equality evolved into a virtual revolution against the clergy, landowners, and monarchists. Mobs attacked churches and tried to collectivize farms. Unions started strikes, and anarchists assassinated enemies of the people. Basically, that could be landowners, that could be government official who didn't agree with a socialist. It could be a reporter or newspaper publisher type or editor who was on the wrong side. It was not assassinating enemies of the people as in somebody like a out of control police official who was killing people. It was just anybody who opposed the regime. And it wasn't just the anarchists. There was, communists doing that kind of stuff too. The newly installed government was unable to restore order. The Spanish army joined the conservatives and the Catholics to put down the social revolution. Thus, they styled themselves the nationalists. The government, facing an army rebellion, styled themselves Republicans and decided to fight, joining with the forces of revolution. The Spanish Civil War begun. Many countries like Germany, Italy, and Soviet Union intervened with forces of the conflict. Yes, that's mostly correct. Really, it wasn't meant to be a civil war. It was meant to be a coup against the government that failed, that then turned into a civil war. They called themselves Republicans because it was a Spanish Republic. It wasn't a monarchy at the time when the Civil War broke out. So that's why they were called the Republicans, not because they were like in the America believed in, because it's not the Democratic Party, it's the Democrat Party and the Republican Party in America. I mean, often people call them the Democratic Party. No, it's both sides believe in voting. It's the Democrat versus the Republican, and so that. And I'm saying this because a lot of particularly Americans understand sort of like what they were saying there, but understand Republican to be a conservative type person or a person who believes in a republic as opposed to maybe a pure democracy. A Republican in Europe is generally a person who wants a government that isn't a monarchy. Like in Britain, there's still a Republican movement that would like to get rid of the British monarchy. At this time and through to the end of World War II, Italy was a kingdom. It wasn't a republic. It had a democracy, had very strong democratic elements until Mussolini got in charge. And it was a very close, it was like, I think like 51 or 52 to 48, 49% at plebiscite at the end of the war that got rid of the king. I mean, it was a very, it was very close on whether that would to stay a monarchy or go republic after it. Today, places like Belgium, Denmark, Sweden are still monarchies. Some monarchies have more power than others. And there is some minor movements, particularly in this region, to maybe bring back some of their traditional monarchs. Obviously, France was and is a republic. They've gone through several republics, and I think this is at this time during leading up to World War II, it was the Second Republic, or was it the Third? Maybe the Third Republic. God, I don't remember. I'm trying to remember, because the First Republic was with the French Revolution, and then it became the French Empire. that with Napoleon, and then it went back to the Kingdom of France after Napoleon was completely defeated. And then there was the I'm not sure if it went from that to Napoleon III, or if there was a republic in between there. And then since they're on another, the current is another republic, and when they changed their republics, and I think whether it's like from the third to the fourth, or the fourth to the fifth, God, I forget, I'm sorry. If it matters, I don't know if it matters what it is, other than to prove that I know all the details. But what they've done is, when they've changed some of the republics, sometimes it's like gone between being a monarchy or a republic. Other times, it's just changed the Constitution considerably. It would be like as if the U.S. went back to a constitutional convention and completely rewrote their Constitution. Then it would be like the Second American Republic kind of thing. That's how France has gone through several of those things. Different constitutions. So when you're talking about republic in Europe, and again this is put mostly towards Americans who don't necessarily think in these terms, you have this. Now, like Spanish Republic, it also, and I've talked earlier about this, sounds like it is going to be a pluralistic, meaning you can have social conservatives, you can have fiscal conservatives in the legislature, and you can also have centrists, and you can have leftists, and you can have extreme leftists in the legislature. Well, as the little event information showed, is that once the voting went sort of their way for the socialists, and they were holding some of the major offices, they started a revolution supported by the government against the establishment, or the old order, or however you want to say that. And they looked the other way towards violence. I don't believe at the end it might have been called the Republic of Spain or the Spanish Republic, but it would have been a de facto People's Republic in a Soviet type style, is my assessment of where they wanted to go. Okay, well, let's reduce this down. That's good. Now, okay, I want to get a few more of these built, and then we'll start doing some of those upgrades that I want to get going as well. Okay, very high popularity. Thought that was coming with the boost. Okay, single engine fighter prototype. Great. Which grays that out. Now, we are in 38, so I want to start with some of these, and let's also do steel production metal. How good are we on rares? Oh, we're great on rares, so. And also, well, we're pretty good in oil too, but just used to playing as Germany with rares and oil being the critical thing, and going, hey, we got, well, sometimes, and they've done a little better job than standard Black Ice has, the standard in needing some of the imports from Norway and Sweden for steel, but yeah, I almost said something, so never mind. Stay away from that. Can't say too much, get in trouble otherwise. Oh, that's right, I want to do a little reconnaissance work. Let's see what we have up here that could... A small plateau. Yeah, we'll see about that. I want to look. We'll look in here. We're gonna patrol. Maybe I want to look in here. I'll get out before I think there's any sort of war going to start and maybe clog this up. But I just want to take a look at some of what's going on maybe there to see what the AI is doing. Get a better force appreciation. See, we're already seeing a little bit. Okay. Destroyer crew training. That is great. Now, let's go and improve our increase industrial zones. Good. We're seeing. Oh, see, look at all that. No, thank you. Oh, they've got their light armors up here. My division. Let's see what's going on up here. No, no, no. Let's see. Yeah. No, that's too much. So Vinking's up here. No, thank you, Peru. Let's see if we can buy a little more steel from the U.S. No, not that much. Good. So they're sort of kind of thinking about maybe Poland here. Of course, now that they've got the Sudeten land, Czechoslovakia, if it wasn't before, is now completely doomed. But, well, I don't know how much our aid package helped. Probably at least some, but they're really pushing against the nationalists now. Okay, well, we've lost very high popularity, but we've got still high gun ability, which basically we're just going to stop that now. Okay, what to do? The Spanish Civil War. Following the and here they're saying it correctly. Following the failed fascist coup by the army, Spain fell into civil war. Some argue that since the rise of the Spanish left, the Republic is no longer democratic. Hey, these guys are getting it right. Whether it's Panzeroo or Marnman or Maverick or whoever's writing writing this stuff, they're getting it right. That's good. Because a lot of people and a lot of stuff I've often referred to is they keep up the sort of myth that it's a democracy type thing, and that's often spread. Is elected, time has come to begin to curb fascist forces in Europe. Now, we can... Ooh, Lots of dissent there. Manpower, fuel. I'm going to take the dissent hit, which is very difficult for me because I don't like doing that. I don't mind the manpower. Don't mind the supplies, the fuel, the loss of national unity. Now that I got it all the way up to 87%. Agonizing over this now. My plans were to intervene. Just giving you my thoughts here. They've got the Spanish capital here surrounded, Burgos. They've retaken Bilbao and Guernica, the famous painting in the bombing. That very much says we don't need to intervene, they're winning. The thing I have a problem with is, just looking at it, is that's going to withdraw, even though those forces are weak, it's going to withdraw a lot of forces from the front line, or some forces from the front line. I could take the loss and descent. I don't know how to, because I can repump that back up by simply diverting my ICs into it. Changing this is not as easy. I mean, we've got the spies doing it, but I don't know of it, and all the other effects, but I don't. Obviously, we would lose the high popularity if we go with that, because I think we would at least. So we would lose. We can't just push that right back up, and without that, that's going to drive up our consumer goods needs, both to counteract the increase in dissent, and the lower the national unity, the larger the consumer goods needs. So I just can't afford that at this time with this budgeting here. If I had a stronger cushion, if I had an extra 20 ICs or so that I could put into here, I'd be doing it, but I'm not. So I'm going to have to say no here. Britain's got to survive. Number one, remember, the first thing I mean by the British Isles, first objective of this game series, Britain survives. Number two, the British Empire, as much as possible, remains intact. Obviously, we're not going to be able to hold Hong Kong, and I'm sure there'll be a few other losses, but as much as possible, the British Empire stays intact. Third, and it's only third, we are going to work. And now to notice, now that we've done that, we've got, because we did that, we've got many more, or much less consumer good needs. So, because we went with that, and now we're now at 100% national unity. So, now we can afford that. And let's start upgrading our army. Well, our Army, Navy, Air Force. Let's go to about 12, just to start this off, because I do want to do new production and get these things done. So, and like I was saying, number 3 is help the U.S. defeat Germany. Sure, if we get the chance to help in the Far East, fine. I'm going to hopefully, and this is one of the things I'm looking at, at some point here in 38 or something, create Fortress Singapore. And hopefully be able to hold out at least there. I don't know if we can hold out the whole Malayan Peninsula, that's another thing. But, and obviously try to hold out in Burma, India, somewhere around here. All this mess. But if we can, yes, we'll help with Japan. But that's 4th or later on our to-do list. Okay, small ship main armament has increased. Okay. And has that, yeah, grayed out, fine. Armored car designs. Cancel that. Because we want to come over here. Let's see, we want to do monumental architecture. Okay, we've also got lots of spies built up there. So, well, I just hadn't been paying attention to all that we had. Oh, that's why it's not going down, because we need to really put it somewhat over to research. We're not going to go too low because I don't want to. Okay, let's see if we try to tech steal, do some industrial espionage with the U.S. Continue doing that. Let's move that up a little bit. Who else might we be able to get a good tech off of? Well, I don't know. Let's try the Soviet Union. Maybe they're doing some stuff, some areas that we're not. So we'll just do a minor bit there. And that also gives us, which is probably more productive, but those are just fun. So if you're asking me why am I doing it, I'm partly doing that just as a fun lottery to see what we get. Yeah. And might as well. And broadcasting, I think, next. There we go. Alright, let's look at diplomacy. Who we might we influence to a better position? Trying to think who we might want to counter-react. Well, you know, Portugal. Let's influence that nation for a while. Okay, and yes. Okay, we got a while. We'll see if we keep doing that, but attritional warfare advanced. Okay, and grayed out to completion. Well, yeah, we'll do that. We'll balance things out a bit. Okay, twin engine airframe. Okay. Let's do coal processing. And we'll also do the coal oil if that will help us out possibly with our oil and fuel needs, particularly if we are having to cut off imports. We may lose imports from, if we lose Kuwait and lose the imports, or if we just have to limit the number of convoys going. Now, this is the first I've played with this new system that they've developed here. And after some feedback from some of you in the, the messages below, and some of the other things, I think they made the wrong decision here. It started with this stuff here, and if you have to research each one of these to get another one of these, why do this? And obviously I'm just one person. If everybody else is loving this system, they should do it. I just don't see the point. Either make each one of these harder, or because instead of 1, to get the new level up, just increase these numbers here to 12 or 14 or whatever it might be, and each one, and skip these. Part of the idea, at least I would think, of having these is to go, oh hey, you want to do fuel tank research, fuel tank research, fuel tank research, and you come up with a much longer range fighter, great. I could see capping it so you don't have a fighter that can be based on one side of the Soviet Union and do combat on the other side. Obviously I'm exaggerating there, but have a can't get more than 2 or 3 ahead in any one of these. Now that I would agree with, because naturally eventually you would improve engines, or you'd improve armament or something like that along the way, so you can't too skew out. Now I know, and I like some of these type of things, like you can do hit some focuses or ignore some, because as sometimes you've seen that I've maybe not upgraded the ammunition capacity so that I don't lose the speed, say. And similar over things here is you have like drop tanks that you can research and do other things that you don't, if you don't have a lot of extra research points to use leadership, or however you want to look at them, because either you're using them in a diplomatic war, or you're just a smaller nation. Yeah, you can't have all of these things everywhere, but you can pick and choose some and slowly upgrade in that, and that's good. So this obviously does allow a certain amount of flexibility, but I'm losing the point of this. I get the point of this as being a generic engine level, because you improve fighter engines, it also bleeds over into other types of engines. So some of this I get, and I really like the idea of just having one engine type, basic level of research to research. But I don't, and I also sort of get that improving small fuel tanks doesn't necessarily help with improving large fuel tanks. So I get that. But I don't get and I don't know if I've ever really complained about this much, and it's not a big deal. But now we're adding that to this, and now this may be a little more dynamic here in that you have the different types of long range, regular, coastal, whatever, so that you have that. So, but to me, the idea of, I don't know, improving the batteries just improves your underwater performance, doesn't give you any like longer range. So that could be, in my opinion, something that you could break out from all of this and just have that as simply a avoidance from being detected, because more battery power either means longer time under the water, effectively operating at a slower speed, so if they're searching for you, you can stay down a lot longer, and or quicker boosts of speed, so once you sort of know that they've got you fixed, and like when they would go over the top of you, normally especially if they're just one sub hunter at that time, he would automatically lose your position, and you could break right or left or move, and he wouldn't know until he came back around and reacquired you. And so if you had only moved a little ways away and he comes back at you, I'm showing you with my hands, and of course you can't see, but turns around and comes back at where your last known position was. If you haven't moved very far, he'd pick up if you've moved a little to the right or to the left from your original base track. But if you had enough battery power, you could kick that up to a much higher speed and get out of his pattern, and then he'd have to guess, did you go right or did you go left? And by the time he's guessed and then figured out, oh, this wasn't the way, you've gone the other way, and you've varied your depth and you've varied your speed in your course, that he may never pick you up again. So greater batteries means better stealth, not like, oh, we can go out, operate at longer ranges. Yeah, some better batteries would stand depth charging better, and there are other aspects to it, but which may come into some of this stuff here. And so I haven't fully looked at all of it, but I'm just sort of here going, why do this? And then step through everything there. I just think we're adding complexity without adding like a benefit of either more dynamic or more historical. And it's just, they've added a lot of leadership over the standard game to deal with all of these massive numbers of text compared to the basic game, and that's good and that's appropriate. But now it looks like they're just trying to use a sponge and sop all that back up, so why have it there? I guess that's sort of what I'm saying. Well, there you go. That's my thoughts on that, and I think we're going to end this episode here. We've been playing long enough. I'm a combination of having fun and trying to get through this interwar period before the war starts. I'm thinking many of you are waiting for the action to happen, and I'm trying to show you how it goes, as well as entertain you through this period with my dialogues or monologue. I guess they're monologues because you're not speaking, so they're monologues. So see you next time. Thanks for liking the videos. Thanks for commenting. Just thanks for watching too. See you next time, like I said.